All right, now we're live.
Alright, guys, we are back for yet another video. This is Heart and Grin.
Mm-hmm.
We are covering chapter 405 and maybe 406
We'll
in
see.
this video,
We'll see.
depending on how much time we have. We might just cover one. We'll see.
Yeah.
But before we get into the chapter, I have a few things to say. First and foremost, to the one guy who said Morena is the greatest villain of all time. No, she's not. She's a goated villain. She has a lot of potential, right?
But Grin,
it
was his humble opinion. 5. It was his humble opinion, my guy.
Nah, fuck that. It's a terrible take. I don't care. It's a terrible take. She has the potential to get in the top 5. But she's not beating the top 5. She's a potential to get in the top 10, but she's not beating the top 5 of Hunter's verse.
Grin.
Just not even close.
Let me speak to this guy. First off, Crollo, Lucifer life supports you, my guy. If she's really the greatest in your opinion, then change your profile picture and change that username. Instead of writing Crollo, write Morena life supports you. You got to commit to it first if you're really going to say these things. 2, has nothing to do with the Meek Hyson video. By the way, Meek Hyson fans, Hunter dog walks her series. Geg is a fraud. He needs Togashi to pay the rent. He can't do a damn thing without stealing off Nen and making an inferior, downgraded Timu. Downgrade. It's not even like Weird Al making parodies where he actually enhances the song. It's the complete opposite of Weird Al.
Okay, so I have a few things to say about Morena. She's not a very complicated character, but she doesn't have to be. Her emotional weight is extremely complicated and deep. She's a well-written character who's written in a very simple manner. Just because she's written in a simple manner doesn't mean she's a simple character. So let's just before someone jumps on the agenda, I'm gonna just say hold the fuck up. Wait. Hold up. Hear me out.
Have her get past. Listen. Have her get past Crollo. Have her get past Hisoka. Have her get past Seti. Have her get past Medium. Have her get past Poof. Have her get past a plethora of other characters in the series. Have her get past Jing. Because this person says greatest. He said greatest villain. Not even the greatest character in Hunter. Not even the greatest villain in Hunter.
Greatest villain is a insane take to me. Maybe you know, and it is your opinion. That's fine, sure. But I would beg you to take a step back and reconsider and try to figure out what you mean by that. Don't just immediately be on the hype train. Don't get me wrong. Morena is one of the best characters introduced in Hunter recently in the current arc. She's got a very traumatizing backstory. She has a lot of emotional depth. She is incredibly well written. But her character doesn't necessarily have to be complicated. Her character is written in a simple fashion that is easy to understand and digest. There's a lot of other characters that are far more complicated to write from a writing perspective rather than than simple. Morena is one of those characters that's fairly simple to write, but she has a lot of complicated emotions. That's why the emotional depth of Morena's personality as a whole comes from in the last batch that we got. I want to say, just because something's complicated doesn't mean it's amazing or it's great. And just because something is simple doesn't mean it's
But when we're
terrible.
talking about greatest villain discussions, then now we have to take into account depth and how they're written.
There's so many other villains. Let's just move all the other top 10 from Hunter aside for a second. There are so many god-tier villains out there in the entirety of fiction. To say that she's the greatest villain is an insane take to me. She's one of the best written characters. She's got one of the most interesting motivations. Of course, No two ways about that. For sure. She's got one of the most interesting motivations, and the way it's portrayed in the medium that it's portrayed is phenomenal. She the greatest villain? I don't know about that.
No.
I don't even think she's the greatest villain in she's not even the greatest villain in her own series, let alone all of anime, which is a whole entire different debate to get around. She's not, and even if she's the greatest villain in anime, that's like saying she's the greatest villain of all time. You now have to consider anime, books, movies, TV shows, right? You know,
Walter
any
White,
kind of medium
Tony Soprano.
Like, that isn't like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I understand where you were coming from, but that's wild. No, she's not the greatest villain of all time.
And Grin, I'm very convinced, because again, his statement had no correlation with my video, and I told you this before we recorded. I'm 90% sure that this is simply because of my Sari glaze. You know, for some reason, people get peeved when I respect and I glaze Seti to the extent, and let's be real here, and I'm going to say this time and time and time again, you Seti blind witnesses, Seti is far superior to Morena. Morena is not even close to Hisoka, not even close to Crollo, not close to Morena, my bad, Medium, not close to any of these other characters. Two, I've explained this in my 5-hour analysis video. Seti requires the most amount of legwork and brain power to truly understand and appreciate the depth of the character writing, because he's a character that ties all the way back to Yorknu, has the most amount of parallels, has the most amount of religious symbolism and themes. Morena does not come close. All Morena does is enhance Seti as a character.
I gotta be fair here. Sedanish is definitely a lot more complicated character. You're right. It requires a lot more.
Because people, here's the thing.
Right? But if somebody wanted to make like, I'd find it a little bit more reasonable for someone to say, "Oh, Morena is a better written character compared to Sedanish," and I could see that more acceptable of an argument than
Grin. And I'd still clown on it, because she only seems better on the surface because these guys look at Seti as a mustache twirling villain with barely any depth to him. And because so much more, Morena requires no thinking, no power to understand. She's a spoon-fed character. You literally have chapter 408 and chapter 378 where you know her deal. You know that there's more to her.
Which again, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's bad.
No. That's the only reason why they would think this sort of thing, because they think Seti's a limited character who's just evil, who's just more like a Dio character, or more like a mustache twirling villain, when in reality he's got way more depth, hence the point of my 5-hour analysis.
I think whether someone wants to say Sedanish is better or Morena is better, that's more of a subjective argument until proven otherwise, as the story is still being written.
These people are delusional, because we've literally had 2 chapters that don't even directly focus on Seti, and Seti somehow became even greater as a character. Just by learning more about Hulkenberg, and the fact that he's not even the actual son of the second Queen Dwazul, and that he's in actuality a child of Unma, then it's like, holy shit, there's this deal between Unma and Dwazul. What does that make of Seti? Who's potentially a bastard child, and the child of Beyond, and then the grandson of Netero. He's basically a bastard child, just like that. And like his obsession with like his misogynistic tendencies, just like that, Seti's already become even more complex. And then there's the little bit that we get in 404. Like, come on, Morena does not.
I'll say close. This. Don't get me wrong though. Sedanish is a great character, but he's a great villain because you love to hate this man. You love to hate this man. He is charismatic and saucy, but unlike Crollo, who comes from like,
he's more you get more empathetic for him because he has his dynamics. He's not straight up completely evil. Like, granted, neither is Seti, because I don't believe in the notion of pure someone that's born that's pure evil. I don't believe in that notion at all.
Sure, yeah. I can acknowledge that. I don't think a lot. I mean, there are some characters definitely in series out there for sure that are just evil.
Yeah,
they're just evil, I shall not name a certain character who recently got shown into the anime that was turned into a baby, whole size, and then blinked out of existence, who was just evil for the sake of being evil. But the point I'm trying to make is, you empathize or you sympathize and with Crollo more because you understand the circumstance had this man go from relatively innocent to being the villain that he is currently in the story. That is not the case for Serenich, though. No. It wasn't circumstance that turned him evil. Rather, it was his own, I want to say pride or mentality. His pride, or his pride is what consumed him to turn him evil.
See, I'm very glad that you brought this up, Grin, because this is like the intrigue with SETI. We know the kind of place Kakine is. We've known that Kakine's a very evil place with these sort of ground, like classism and all that sort of stuff, and then what we learned with the Diddy parties in 408. But the fact is, if you pay attention, the younger princes aren't evil. They're not old enough to develop in such a way. They're naive. But the older princes, when you look at them, not all of them are as evil as SETI. So what the hell happened with this character, with this guy in particular? It's a combination of nature and nurture. If this guy is a bastard child, this guy never had any legitimate parental and maternal love. Granted, you look at Hulkenberg, and let's be real here. You look at Nasubi. Do we really think that he's the kind of guy who literally spent father-child time with all 14 of his siblings?
Sure.
Hell, with all the 14 kids?
I can get behind that notion, but there's also the idea that some of it does come from Serenich's just pride and his upbringing, in the sense of he believes he's a noble, so he's entitled to everything, and that sort of arrogance kind of builds into his character.
He's a character.
That's childhood.
That's what I'm talking about, Gren. He's a character.
Result, that feeds into pride, and then that pride leads to the evilness that he currently is.
That's the beauty of the character, Grin. He's a character that requires so much context and so much understanding of what kind of society Kakine is and his upbringing, because this is a character who had he been given maternal or paternal love, he would have not ended up like this. And even then, he'd still kind of be rotten because of the place Kakine is. That's what's so fascinating. He'd be a different character if he was born in a completely different society or had a more stable childhood. And then you look at the fact that if he never had any love to begin with, he was basically just thrown out into the wild, and was, in order to compensate for his identity, his individuality, his insecurities, he essentially had to better and bolster himself in such a way to where he's so obsessed with his own prestige and accomplishments and status.
I don't necessarily think yes, I feel
and then there's this dynamic with Hulkenberg that adds even more complexity to him.
I'll say this. I feel the fact that he might not have had the best role model, or someone who, the closest I can think of this is Serenich is a character who basically is an entitled child. He's given everything. He's never said no. No one's ever said no to him, right? And so as a result, he believes he is entitled to everything. So even if he did have a good role model, I don't necessarily think that would change. I don't necessarily think that would turn him into a good guy. I think just the rate at which he became evil would be slower.
Grin.
That's
granted. I'd still there's still some caveats to that, because he's not exactly the kind of character who feels the need to get everything, because we also know he despises his siblings, and they're all princes who live at the highest echelon of society. He looks down on them. A big portion of why he looks down on them isn't the fact that he feels he's entitled to everything because of he's a prince. He feels like he's entitled to everything because he's just simply better. He's smarter. He's stronger.
Yeah, that's
these guys are
saying.
complete bums.
That's where I.
That's why he respects Hulkenberg to such an extent.
That's what I was talking about. Like the pride.
Yeah.
It comes from like.
It's not similar. It's not like Camilo or Benjamin, because we've seen them display similar personalities where they think they deserve everything because we're the top two.
But it's more of like it's a combination of several factors. I want to say natural talent, arrogance, pride, entitlement, bad influences, no one ever standing up to him, right? No good parental figures. It's a combination of all these terrible things mixed with classism, which is the fundamental core of cocking.
Yep.
Cocking is basically classism.
Yep.
Right? All of these different factors mixed together created a very beautiful villain who to the unsuspecting person would think is a person who's evil for the sake of being evil, when in reality that is not the case.
Yep. And then you combine Grin.
But it can appear like that. It can appear like that to somebody who doesn't necessarily
really look deep into the character.
Yes, who doesn't necessarily introspect or try to analyze the mindset of the different types of characters.
Yeah.
He can appear very one-dimensional.
Yep.
Like Morena's backstory and okay. I remember telling you this, Hart, that in the last batch when we were reading Photo 8, Morena's backstory is on some fundamental level very similar to Krollo's because she was changed by circumstance as well.
Yep.
The only difference is the way she utilizes her position of power. While Krollo's more proactive in the sense, I'm going first, I'm going to be the first to make a change. She's like, I will make a change, but I'll have everybody else help me make the change. That's why that's why her Nen ability also is very good at buffing other people up. She herself probably isn't particularly very strong. But what makes her strong, what we learn from her Nen ability,
is her intelligence and support system.
It's a support type ability.
Yeah.
It basically maxes out another person's ability to, max level effectively. And that personality change, is reflected in their Nen. While Krollo's very proactive because he wants to do everything for himself. He wants to be the first person to do it. And he needs things from others, which is why his abilities are reflected as an ability that can steal other people's abilities. Morena's thing is very supportive. She's like, oh, I want to help this person. And the difference is there is a part of Morena that is still very kind at heart.
Yeah. That innocent child deep down. Her love for games.
There is a part of Morena that is still childlike and still innocent. And even though she's doing all she appears as a villain, she is similar to Krollo. She's affected by circumstance, but unlike Krollo, there's a part of her that still cares and is very, very nice. And that is reflected in her Nen ability from a writing perspective on how Togashi interpreted it for us and left it for us to interpret it.
Yeah.
Whereas Krollo's is complete disillusionment of his character. Complete disillusionment of his character. When we got the spider flashback.
Yep.
They're very similar, but also very different.
And, then you look at the religious symbolism. Seti literally has the likeness of Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ is meant to be the good old JC. He's meant to be the perfect embodiment of a sinless human being or a sinless creature. And then you look at Seti, he's completely different. And then, because I called Seti the chosen one. And what I really mean by chosen one is that He was literally born with the talent, with the power, with the intelligence. And even his guards seem to believe so in a subconscious level. Theta, for example, or Salkov, where they even state, if only he used his ability for good. If only he used his ability for the betterment of others in society. This guy was essentially born in this monstrous hierarchical fascist kingdom with the ability to change the world for the better, but he chose not to. Or he was born this way or something like that. Man, and there's of course chapter 394. Like listen, we talk about this man. We talk about this man Grin.
Yep.
The more we talk about Seti, it only shows the greatness of the character. And people wonder why I glaze him to such an extent. It's because he requires the most amount of legwork. He requires the most amount. There's way more intrigue with him, and we barely gotten that much of him yet. We still haven't gotten his dynamic with Hulkenberg. We don't have a flashback. We haven't really gotten into his head yet. Remember, Grin, remember when you first read Chimera Ant?
Yeah.
And how Medium was like very one-dimensional, very mustache-twirly, and then you had the stuff with Komugi and Gungi.
Yeah.
And then the Palace Invasion stuff where his character evolved to such tremendous depth.
Alright, so, all of this entire rant out of the way.
Yep, let's begin.
Let's begin 4 or 5.
Yep.
Okay, wait, hold up. I have one more thing.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. Do we address it hard?
No. There's no need. Let's just go straight into it.
Okay.
Just breathe as we slide it in.
Okay, alright.
Also, to that one guy, Mr. Yusuf, about stop and get some help. We don't need to stop and get some help. We're going to keep going without help. We don't need any aid. We're good, bro. I appreciate your concern for the both of us and our well-being. Anyway.
I also want to mention Elias Jalil.
Elias,
right? Elias Jalil. I didn't know that about. I mean, I knew about the tradition of the Greeks placing a coin.
Oh yeah.
For spirits to travel on the other side on a ferryman. Mm-hmm. But that was a cool little detail. And lastly, our greatest fan, Max.
Oh, this man.
Max, okay, Max. We're about to start 405. And I know you like Hisoka a lot. So if you want us to read something, I will watch your comment on this video. You are limited to 200 word limit. You can send it to heart or post it on the video, and I will read it out loud in the next chapter reaction. And then we will give our thoughts on it directly. But that's about it.
Grin, cool. My disappointment with you is immeasurable. This guy. So, alright. Max, what I was going to do, since I'm kind of trolly, funny like that, I was going to go to the previous videos, screenshot your comment, and then just have that as the thumbnail and as the photo of the video, and that was going to be your contribution.
Nah, I can't do that.
And
that
of
feels
course,
too disrespectful.
Grin not liking the idea of being an accessory to you being dusted to such an extent, spelt the beans.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You could post a small comment. I will read it and I will address it in the next video.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Also, Corlo Life supports you. Seti dog walks the guards. Seti dog walks the royal guards. He has greater Ren feats, water divination. Go learn how the Nen mechanics work again, my guy. That's the end of this discussion. Because this guy was obsessed. This guy's obsessed over me. Like, I've never been meat rided to this extent. It's nice, but I don't like it too much.
Also, Wanta, thanks for letting us know that that the video was disconnecting. Hopefully, guys, for those of you listening on for this video, there will be no disconnecting on Heart's side.
No.
We have shifted to better medium. So hopefully both of us
been good so far. So
extremely extremely clear, and the audio comes out perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm.
All that bullshit aside.
Yep. Let's finally start
that entire rant. We was 20 minutes we spent ranting.
Yeah.
Let's just get to the chapter.
All right. One more. Do you want to read it?
Is a poker play with 5 cards. Square X. It uses multiple decks. This is square 3. When you get a duplicate card, you can increase your hand size, and with it, the payout. If you win, the stakes are set to the power of how many one mores you've claimed. But you can't fold, so it's also known as go to heaven. I've witnessed a number of people go bankrupt myself.
Call.
I mean, okay. I know, Max is gonna glaze this.
Yeah.
This panel.
Yeah.
It's a good panel. I'm not gonna lie.
It's a clean page. Clean page. Togashi was cooking that week. There's obvious symbolism with SQ3, aka it's meant to symbolize Hisoka's mental resolve and strength. And how he intends to go against the truth.
Go to heaven. Pretty normal taste. The casino, man, the detailing on this in this chapter.
We for the first time in hundreds of chapters, Grin, we're actually getting characterization or introspection from Hisoka.
Yep, slot machines. Herba exterminating the Zentermians. They were ants. Tremendous rumbling I felt a number of times here. Finding out it was a group ability made possible through the support of a Nen beast created with the power of a ceremony. It really turned me out. See, I'm normal. I'm not interested in BCI orgy. I can't get out.
Yeah.
What a wild statement.
Great. I love the visual here.
I'm just a guy who wants to be with someone one-on-one. So we can love each other.
And how this just recontextualizes how he looks at the other characters, the idea of love to him.
It's a super romantic and poetic way to say something so fucking dark. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
Sad but oh well, it was always solitaire. I do want to talk about something, Grin. When this chapter first came out, people like to slander Togashi, and they like to say, "Oh, Togashi retconned Hisoka's reasoning for not being Chimera Ant." No, you're an idiot. You're a fucking moron. The only reason why Hisoka wasn't there was because we learned in the very beginning of Election that he's been going after Crollo. Now, what this is really meant to be seen and interpreted as, that this is what Hisoka, because now that we're getting quiet time with Hisoka, we're getting to get into his head on what he felt about the ants, because we never got that. Because he never really cared about them. We never got his reaction when Illumi said
in this chapter, he's basically using the phrase "turn me on," quote unquote.
Yeah.
To express his interest.
Yeah. He was just talking about the ants in past tense. Because Illumi told him in the very beginning of Chimera Ant that, the chairman, Netero, he blew himself up. Gon pretty much made a Nen vow, and now he's kind of cooked. And my little brother Kill was doing this because of so-and-so. He told him why, because it was
in these 2 pages itself, it's quite evident that Hisoka doesn't really care too much about the situation with the ants.
We're just knowing what he thought about the ants after all this time. That's really what it meant to be seen as.
He also doesn't seem, like he says here, he also, finding out a group ability made possible through the support of Nembi's creative powers, MRNE really turned me out. He also is not interested in the immense amount of
he just likes one-on-one fights.
That's spelled on the ship.
Yeah.
He has no personal stakes when it comes to the Kakin family, the princess, the seed urn ceremony. He doesn't care about any of that. Mm-hmm. None of it fetches his interest. Nope.
And now we know that this Hisoka was not the same as the one in chapter 392 and 393. That was actually Bono, which we will see in this page right here.
Yep.
And he speculates, is this a fake Hisoka? And, and this was part of Crollo's plan that we left off in chapter 377. Because we never got to see the continuation of this. And this is basically, Crollo finessing the Mafia by having Bono use his Kentablo.
Disguise.
Yeah, metamorphosis ability.
Go hang with the Mafia maybe should come to you, take nice rooms. Why? To maintain balance. To the Mafia, both us and Hisoka are wild cards. Roaming freely through their turf could make them lose face. But if they try to recruit either of us according to their conventions, it would lead to a fight and disrupt the balance, something that the Mafia hates the most. The simplest way to avoid that would be to find Hisoka, keep him away from us. We're a group, so it's harder to contain us. I see. Once the Mafia thinks I'm Hisoka and tucks me away, the troop is free to go and find the real Hisoka. Then everyone could save face. Although promoters might try to feature Hisoka since he is a floor master. I mean, so clearly it's like, okay, they don't want Hisoka and Karolo both there because it could start a fight, but they also don't want them not there.
Yeah. They need them. They need them to get rid of Morena, but at the same time, it's like they don't want. They're also the troop are only doing this whole thing with Morena because they don't want a mafia war to be incited because it'll stop the information to be given to them. That's the only reason why they're helping.
And also, that
but at the same time,
like if the mafia is helping them. Families dies out, if one of the 3 mafia families dies out, then any one of the other remaining 2 mafia families could seize control of a bigger operation. Which, in all honesty, like if you're a leader, that's the last thing you want is your rivals to take over an operation.
Yep. And so the mafia, they're basically playing this cat and mouse game where they're helping the troop at the same time they're trying to deter the troop, and they believed that the Hisoka that they met, aka Bono, that Henrig and Zakuro met, was not the real one. And now this Hisoka, ergo all of our theories about if this Hisoka is actually gonna like honor the deal and go to tier 1, we learned that was a complete lie because that wasn't Hisoka. Hisoka's been in tier 1 the whole time. And now we're speculating, because Bono speculates here, if this Hisoka has a connection to someone, in particular a prince, and that's how he got up to tier 1, we don't know yet.
Yeah. And then,
and this also implies, this also explains that Crollo knew that this guy was in tier 1 the entire time, and because he's been doing this to keep Tazol also going after the thing he really wants, which is the treasure. And he told everyone else to just focus on finding Hisoka as a means to buy time while Crollo's trying to like get the power up he needs, which we'll talk about in 406 when we do record that eventually.
But I like how Bono's like, he knows that he can't really beat him.
Yep.
Beat Hisoka, so his whole goal is to basically be like a covert ops spy mission kind of shit. And he wants to transform into someone else once he actually finds him.
Mm-hmm. And here he transforms into Owl from the Shadow Beasts. We learn more about his ability and how it corresponds to how long he's been face to face with someone. So the longer he's been with someone, the longer the transformation lasts. There's also no body limit, but it affects him mentally if he's like transforming to someone that's smaller than him.
Yep.
And then we get a flashback to Lynch Fuboku with and Zakuro Custard all the way back in 392. Mm-hmm. And the theory about like, Lynch punched Hisoka, aka the fake Hisoka, but we didn't see that, and people speculated that this was actually this was a fake Hisoka. I made a video, and fine, I'll admit it, I was wrong. Are you happy that this in fact was a fake Hisoka? But their theories for why this was the case, it was stupid. Their theory was that it was Crollo taking Bono's ability to change himself for a really dumb reason, to like get Hisoka's attention, some moronic nonsense like that, or it was Bono. And even then, the reasoning for why this was done was stupid, or it was Olumi, which makes no sense.
Yeah, we find out this is actually Bono pretending to be Hisoka getting hit by Lynch.
He counterattacked her. Was that my voice? And then here, and this has like a double meaning now because he's like, oh, so you didn't hear the voice, this voice right here. I guess he didn't hear me. This is where he learns about the ability. Then we basically get to see what happened after that conversation because we were cut away, and now we're back in the events of 390. 392 or 393. He disguises as Lynch. No, he disguises as Zakuro. Talks to Lynch, and Lynch is like, "Nah, we got that was the fake. I didn't want the smoke." And then he's like, "All right, you die." And then now, and then he basically woke up as Lynch, assumed Lynch's identity, woke Zakuro up, and then basically like let him fall asleep. And then he was waiting in the theater.
Yep.
No. And he's nervous that this would end up biting him back, and whoop-de-doo, this happens in 406, where Henrik and Zakuro quickly manage to piece it together, and then now they're basically like, okay, let's round up our boys and let's go hit him. Let's go take this man down. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
I don't know. Just as Crowell, I'd really like to get things scooped with the Hisoka. We all know Crowell's hurting over Shock or Toby, and he's trying to act like he's fine because he knows that we know. Everyone knows he wants to settle it once and for all by himself, and that the treasures he seeks on the ship is an ability that he needs to kill Hisoka.
Nope.
Good.
406.
Twice. Everyone wants to kill Hisoka first before Crowell can get him. You kept the number 9 spot empty this entire time. We all understand. Let's let Hisoka be the last and close the curtain on his performance.
Yep, and number 9 is Pakunoda. So even now, after this point, Crollo never got over Pakunoda's death, which makes sense because we know how deep their bond was in the flashback. So, and they're intending to let Hisoka be the final death, and whatever, and that this could be very well the end of the troop. We don't know what this means. Either.
Yeah. I mean, either way, it would
this
be,
is the end.
I speculated it would be what is it called? Part 2. The oh my god, my brain is trying to figure out what the performance. Oh my god.
The Requiem.
Requiem Part 2.
Requiem 2.0.
Requiem 2.0.
But we know in 406 that Crollo does not want this to be the end of the troop. He's obsessed with the idea of the troop because his identity is imprinted on the troop. Therefore, if the troop ceases to exist, then metaphorically Crollo also ceases to exist because without the troop, he's an empty vassal.
Yeah. No? Crollo is.
So there's a disconnect between him and the members.
That he's confident enough, and he believes in his troop enough that even if one member survives, he will survive.
Yeah.
Or rather, he will survive as his ideology because of how heavily that's been imprinted.
Because he is the spider, as he described himself back in York New. But at the same time, it's like the other troop members want this to be the end. They want the troop to be over because it's like, yo, we're losing too much. But Crollo does not want that, as we learn in 406. And then now we get to see Nonce Mr. Bean. I knew you get the joke. But
man's the ultimate fraud.
Yeah, we finally learn his name, Riznorth. He's the character when we first read it from the Phantom True flashback, the child trafficker. We learned later in chapter 408 that this guy actually has connections, that this guy actually was on the down low part of the Haley Mafia, which is mainly in charge of which basically houses the child trafficking organization. And on the surface, this guy presents himself as a very good Samaritan that cares about the well-being of people and cared about children and helping them out. When in reality, that's just a carefully crafted image that he maintained himself to make himself look good. When in reality, he and the Cockine Royals and the dynasty and the monarchy were off to some really foul nonsense.
This man.
He's basically in Universe Epstein. He's basically in Universe Epstein with the fact that Epstein also had connections to actresses, musicians, princes, Prince Andrew.
And to be fair, we don't know if this man, when he was alive, had that connection. He could have very well had that connection.
I mean, we learned in 408, 408, the Cockine dynasty goes out of their way to do this, and then those the children that are born from these Diddy parties go to their organization.
To be fair, I want to know what the Moms Help Charity Foundation's whole deal is, but I suppose we'll only get that later.
Yeah.
It's not particularly important.
Yeah. So we get an answer that this guy died 10 years ago prior to the events of the story. So now we have a conclusion that Crollo succeeded sometime after that Phantom Troop flashback, killed him.
When he went on a solo mission, when the troop basically split up for their training arc, me and Hart theorized during that point, when Crollo came back, during that point when he was on his own solo training arc to when he comes back and reunites with the rest of the troop, this man killed Riz North.
Yep. And then after that, because now they pretty much have completed their OG goal, which is to get revenge for Sarasa, after that, they pretty much were aimless and just became a group of thieves, and then later down, because the Kurta massacre happened 5 years before the events of the story.
Yeah, and we also know
4 or 5 years,
it's like we know that the formation of the troop as a group of thieves rather became because Crollo, for whatever reason, knew the age of the internet was coming. Like, this man was so many steps ahead compared to the rest of the world.
And Grin,
he knew how the world would change.
And 2 more things, Grin. This is the first time that we finally see Crollo in present. We have not seen this guy in present, besides that, with the exception of that flashback, which I don't count, because last time we saw this guy was in Chapter 377. That chapter's in 2018. Chapter 405 is the first time in years we get to see present Crollo in 2024. That's how long it's been.
And man, does this guy look saucy.
Saucy as
his
hell.
Outfit.
Saucy. Sweet. And the second thing, Kakin, because this just shows just how, and again, not to go political, but it's the same thing with like the Epstein stuff. Hey, hence why I basically nicknamed this the Riz North Files, because massive cover-ups with his death, controlling the media, trying to like present him as a good guy. They pretty much hid the reason for why this person died, because if it's revealed, the nature of who this person is revealed, it implicates the rest of the dynasty. It implicates the rest of the other people in power, the rich white men.
And
or like
there's
the rich
nothing
people.
worse than having a loose end to an extremely powerful political society.
Yeah. Yep. Because this is a fascist dictatorship country.
Nah, his drip is too fucking fire, bro. I need this outfit.
Yeah. Go. And then we go back to the final section of the chapter with Nobunaga, Finks Phaeton talking to the Char, Kenny Wing, and Tajao. And then this is where they discuss Morena. They talk about what her goal is. And they talk about how their boss recently took over.
Nobunaga's like, it's hard to predict what they're thinking. Kenny's like, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not even a functional mafia, it's hard to honestly notice that something's up. Just what are you trying to say? Just that. Is it really Haley on the ship? What do you think? Interesting idea. If they're not Haley, then who are they? They had the official succession ceremony. The boss even went, as did the rest of us. But if you're trying to say that the previous boss was manipulated with Nen and killed, what's the current Haley boss like? Young woman named Morena, royal descendant without succession rights. Kakin mafia boss titles are always inherited by person.
And this is where we learned, we get an extra bit of Kakin lore, particularly with the mafia, that it's not just anyone that can be the head of the mafia. You know, you can't just be another guy. You have to be someone that's born specifically from these circumstances, and that this is customary. Like, it was implied in 378, but now it's like, it outright states it.
It's not like we don't know her at all, but like you say, we're not so close that we know what she wants. Are they really Haley? On paper, yes, but we don't know what they're after. Did you get some sort of clue? We didn't find anything concrete, but we do know some things from fighting them. Seem to be doing whatever they want. Kiss, kill them over. Find out they organize their behavior showed under some leadership. I like how Nobunaga's piecing this together and basically like actively saying this in front of Kenny.
And Kenny
that
Wing,
he's trying to save face. He is trying to save face to to like make sure that his involvement in this whole bullshit doesn't come out.
Mm-hmm. And he was it's very ambiguous, but he's very likely in cahoots with Morena.
Yep. You decide strategy, specific tactics left to each of them. That's our style, and they're using the same playbook. The problem is, what's their motivation, and what copies of orders are they operating under? Which, I mean, we find out in the future chapters what the orders actually are, how they work. They're trying to crush the other families, makes sense to kill other members. But they're killing civilians. Why? Well, I mean, we also know why that's the case. It's to level up.
Yep.
Trying to destroy everything. And the ship, including our family, in the other words, cracking is a sealed chamber. This cruise ship presents is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Also, multiple motivations. Power need to destroy everything. They're going to get that power. Constant move. Limitations. Plan to kill all people anyway. So use number people they kill as condition make powerful. Mm-hmm. Yep. Crazy. Not just say you guys for coming up with that. How we came about was twisted to begin with. That's why we place importance on balance and why we're proud to have supported the country from shadows. Fight is a last resort and used to keep things in check. Civilians are customers, and we never thought of them as targets.
And Grin, this is what's so interesting about the Kenny Wing expression here. He's very likely a traitor. So from Tajao's perspective, he's someone that's a patriot and cares about Kakin and sees civilians as customers when in reality, the mafia treat the civilians like trash. Kakin treats its civilians like trash. And
he's thinking of it like business perspective. Like he's like, bro, we do shady shit.
Yeah, he basically sees himself
as an
honorable yakuza.
The civilians, we're losing our business.
Yeah.
And that's why we try to protect them because, money keeps flowing, business is good.
Yeah.
We have something to live for. We have some sort of balance.
Yeah, our idea, our way of life. And Kenny Wing has a very interesting expression here where he might think that this is bogus because this country has gone on for so long, and maybe Tajao represents like the old ideal of the Yakuza, where maybe back then in its foundation it was very honorable, but after so many years, it's kind of become contorted and like malicious and evil to the point where it's now become malignant to the customers and civilians.
Yep.
And now it needs to go, and hence Kenny Wing potentially working with Morena to just take out the mafia in general, to just end this whole thing, period.
He said they're different. The Morena's group is different from the Kaki mafia.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and we finally get to see what was behind this door.
To crush the Haley.
Yeah.
The three of us will go ahead then, and you tell the rest of us and Henry to do. I'll send a grunt to fetch them.
Yep. One of the craziest pages in the story. One of the craziest pages in the whole story, right? In this whole chapter right here.
Yep. I remember when we flipped the page and I'm like, bruh.
Yeah. It's like the way Togashi keeps giving us even more insane subplots. Like the story just keeps getting crazier and crazier. These guys might find you sooner than we expected. It accelerates the schedule a lot, but we might have to use our Joker. Oh yeah, the way this chapter ended was so godlike. Level 52. Oh my god. I hear Hulkenberg's funeral procession is taking place. A lot of people will gather for the send-off of Perfect Opportunity. Here's Dogman, level 62. Completely different from where he was before. If I remember, he was in the 30s. Everyone else was in the 20s. Like, I used to look down on these guys as complete frauds, as complete bums, and they weren't a threat. After this chapter, these guys feel terrifying. Because it's like, yo, think you're ready? Yeah. With everyone's help, I leveled up a lot.
Nen typed 5 meters away, and whether they've learned Nen from 2 meters. If I sniff their heads up close, I can identify them.
And we get this with Borkson in chapter 407.
Nah, the Dogman's getting folded. I'm not going to lie. It's been pulled up to my goat and said, hey, yo, do you want to join us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's cooked.
Yeah.
Dogs are supposed to find who are looking green light, big into the end. All right, so exciting. Please kind of further join us once they hear our goals. That's true. I try my best to make sure we get a yes. Let's go. How should I let you know if Soto plays target? I'll be where I say. Just point it out. Take care of the rest. My ability to object them counts on them not knowing Nen. I can bring them here myself. Morena, what did the others go? They're leveling up process. They really want to get a wrench Heinrich.
Nope.
Just like Morena said, level 51 is sick. Let's go. Hansa Mafia. God. These guys are about to get folded.
These guys got it. Well, specifically these two, they got a drip change.
Yep.
Like they look saucy. They look goated. They feel far more terrifying than ever before compared to when they were in their 20s.
It's a pity they're probably gonna die.
Yeah. Like we're most likely gonna get a fight because we know Henrik and Zakuro. He's rounding up the GU to go up to tier 1 and go after Hisoka and make war with the troop and potentially the Cha'ar because the troop are currently holding hands with the Cha'ar.
Things at Phaeton are about to fall.
Yeah, Nobunaga's dispersing from the group that we learned in 406. So he might potentially pull up to these guys and fight them. Yeah. And these guys, and we know that because they're using this place, the waste disposal, that the Cha'ar is in charge of, aka Kenny Wing, potentially allowed these guys to use this in the meantime to kill people while they're
arming themselves. Morena's ability is the one actively helping them level up as fast as they can. Mm-hmm. It's specifically because they probably made the contract with Morena to go kill innocent civilians while also doing what she needs them to do.
Yeah. And we finally get to see what was behind this door that was like set up and hyped up since in chapter 384 and in chapter 379 or chapter 380. Yep. So this is an old subplot that finally, and we learn what it is in 406. Grin, I do want to talk about this chapter because this chapter does several things for me. Mm-hmm. It made me appreciate the Haley more and the Mafia subplot way more in general. This chapter was fire. Mm-hmm. When we got 404 and we went to switch to 405, I was like, damn, man, I don't want to leave the Prince stuff. It's getting hype. It's getting deep. And then we got the Mafia stuff. I didn't care about the Mafia stuff as much until this chapter. And I was like, bro, I don't want us to leave the Mafia subplot because this is kind of peak.
Okay, let's starting from the beginning. It characterizes Hisoka. Mm-hmm. It characterizes Bono. It gives insight into the relationship between Lynch and Zakuro.
Yep.
It gives insight into how
Crollo's plan.
Yep. It gives insight into the whole who was involved in Sarasa's murder and what did
a little bit of timeline lore.
The timeline lore. Then it cuts to Nobunaga and the others basically explaining or asking Kenny Wang basically interrogating and trying to piece things together about who Morena is and what's Morena's plan. We get information on Mafia lore in terms of like how the Mafia kings are decided, and that they are only decided by people with royal blood. We then get insight into how they're going to try and approach Morena, and the goal is to take them out because the Haley also don't actually care about Morena's group.
And we learned that Morena's plan that they're going for they're trying to find a specific person, and once they get this person, then they're able to initiate the final sequence. We learned that this is Borkson, and that Borkson is a specialist. So we learned that Morena is looking for a specialist with a particular kind of ability that she wants that'll allow her to complete the plan. We don't know what that kind of ability is.
We find out that Morena's goal is to straight up just destroy everything.
Which we knew.
Not just a certain, which we knew.
Nope, 378.
We then get to see Dogman and some of these other people leveling up. We get to see kind of confirmation that Kenny Wang actually does work for Morena, and that they might have to accelerate the plan. And then to end it, they're walking into the dark room where, we get back to the door chapter.
Yep.
Where they're about to open the door. That's about it.
Yeah, like, Grin, I'm very curious on what you thought, because for me, I've always been someone who liked the Prince subplots far more. When we got that previous batch, like, yeah, I loved it. It was peak Hunter x Hunter. But, like, I would have liked the Prince stuff more. But after this batch, I now have a far more fondness and love for that previous batch, because these chapters would not be as good if that previous batch didn't exist to do the legwork, to give you way to, like, set up the growth of these Haley members of how much stronger they keep getting, characterizing them, you getting more of, like, Morena, her dynamic with them and whatnot, and stuff with the mafia, the three mafia families in general, and, like, the troop subplots. And now these subplots are becoming intertwined with Tier 1, the stuff with the princes, because of Hisoka and Bono. So now we have members of the troop that are slowly seeping into Tier 1, while all this nonsense and craziness is happening.
I've always liked the mafia subplot, but primarily is because I have
troop stuff.
Troop stuff.
Yeah.
Honestly,
but now on its own, the mafia stuff is peak after this chapter and beyond.
Yeah,
because it's actually in gear.
After we got the Morena flashback, Morena and Borkson, like, conversation, and then the flashback and the intro, that just added a layer to the mafia fight I didn't know I needed in my life, and now I'm excited to see how Morena goes off to face, like, against the truth.
So now when we're switching POVs and shifting perspectives, it's not gonna be like, damn, man, I wish we stay. I'll be excited anyway, because now this mafia subplot, in terms of, like, intrigue and writing and the amount of stuff that's happening, because it's getting to a level of intensity, it's now just as exciting as the stuff with the princes.
The other thing I want to mention, right, is all the fight between Morena, the troop, the Haley, Char, and Ziyu. All of those fights, or all of those confrontations, is gonna do, like, a whole, like, set ripples and in waves, and it's gonna affect certain princes in the first floor, like Zhang Li, or was it Serenich and Lazarus?
It was it was Zhang Li and Lazarus and Fraudorus that aren't in Tier 1. If that's what you're asking about.
No, I'm trying to remember who were the princes that were affected, that basically in charge of each of the families. I know Zhang Li was in charge of one. Was it?
It's Seti and Fraudorus. But the difference with Seti is that he's pretty much cut off all contact with the Haley. So the Haley's on their own, and Seti doesn't care.
Sure.
And Seti,
I understand. Seti,
once
but at the same time,
and when Seti,
I just like to see how that would affect
Grin.
Seti. Each of those things.
We'll likely, it depends on Seti, because as we learned, Seti's more focused on his Nen stuff, which involves, Saw Cobb, and potentially we don't know if he'll immediately focus on the mafia, because of one, he also wants to.
No, I don't think he will. Yeah. But I mean, like, from a political standpoint, like, if each of these mafia families gets crushed, or one of them gets crushed, then to some extent, in a political point of view, one of these three princes will become very, very deadly.
Yeah. Could be.
And also, that is the other reason why I feel like Serenich, Zhang Li, and Lazarus are going to be endgame. Simply because of the three mafia families that are there.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know about Yugimoto, A10 Fraudorus. Bro,
when he goes Thuggerus.
Yeah, Thuggerus. That's his Pharaoh mode, where he's got the gun and the like. Listen, you're not that guy. You're not that guy. Put away that tool, that stick, that iron. Put that away. Like,
where's the Glock?
Yeah.
I need Thuggerus out here.
But yeah, fire chapter. And 405 is one of the best chapters in this batch. With 406 and 408.
I think 406 is my favorite chapter.
Yeah, Crollo chapter.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lore guy, bro. 406 was peak. 406 was legendary.
And another thing that I liked about this chapter, it tied stuff from 377 and 392. So Togashi manages to expertly weaves these subplots in, and things kind of come full circle and things kind of click. Now, this was a lot of movement happening in this. It's insane how Togashi is able to have a chapter of 19 pages, yet it feels like it's more than 19 pages with just how much content there is.
It's because it's very well paced.
Yeah, it's insane.
Even though it's 19 pages, I felt like we got a lot in terms of the pacing of the chapter. We got to see a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different types of information. And I didn't feel like, even though the chapter went from place to place, it didn't feel like we lost out on anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a jump cut in a video. Like you're left hanging for certain questions for what happened here, and you want to learn more. No, he gives you just enough information to get a good context of what each character is doing in the chapter, and basically gives you in both plot twists, gives you setups, and gives you context for things that are going to happen before cutting from each character to the next one. And he's done that very well in 19 pages.
Yeah, factual. Succession War top 1. Succession War on its way to being, well, it's already my top 1 arc, my personal favorite arc of all time, and it only keeps getting better. But anyway, that's the end. I don't have anything else to say. I don't think you got that much else to say.
No, guys, comment, share, like the video. Guys, we're trying to get to 1,000 subs. Can y'all get us to 1,000 subs?
All right. Grin, relax.
Just fucking do it.
I don't care. I don't care about this YouTube. I don't care about subscribers. I don't care about hitting a certain threshold. Grin does. He's motivated. He's inspired. If it makes him happy, do this little solid for him, I guess.
Just do it.
All right.
All right, guys.